How do you define racism? A textbook would define it as the belief that all members of a certain race possess characteristics and abilities that deem them inferior or superior to other races. Racism is actually a system implemented in society to put a certain race per se back in its place. Sometimes racism is a blatantly obvious act, and other times it is hard to pinpoint and seems like a regular routine. But once it is really digested, it is a well understood concept. A prominent example is the expansion of food deserts in black communities. A food desert is an area that lacks proper access to healthy food items. Such areas mostly contain poor black families. Racism has already come into play by placing a large majority of black families in the same areas, which the media would call ghettos. Now, the same ghettos have limited healthy food access for these black families, causing most to develop life-threatening illnesses. When did this begin? Food deserts formed throughout the centuries. It began in the dawn of slavery when slaves were first being imported to America. On the ship, the slaves were fed the bare minimum with the poorest quality of food in order to keep them alive for the voyage. Feeding was only done for the economic purposes, to keep the cargo alive for sale and make up for the cost of importing them from Africa to America. Most slaves were treated in the same manner, even after being bought and taken to their plantations. Some said that the slaves were ordered to eat out of troughs, just like barn animals, given food with little nutritional value like cornmeal, pork, and salt. Those living near water mostly ate fish, and those living near low regions mostly ate rice. Thus began the link between black culture and soul food. The food prepared by slaves with the little resources they had turned into a culture amongst themselves as they learned to cook their fare properly and incorporated it into the kitchen when cooking for the master's family. It became a delicacy that the families began to enjoy and get used to, making it a part of popular culture. This phenomenon explains why soul food is most important in the South, where most slaves were kept. Even white families began cooking soul food because their ancestors had learned from the enslaved cooks. What are the effects of the expansion of food deserts? Food desert epidemic has endangered the lives of many black Americans to the point where diseases such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease have become extremely common in black families. After being forced to eat such foods, most develop disease and most cannot break the cycle because the food deserts do not allow them to get access to a healthier lifestyle. In low-income neighborhoods, there is one supermarket for every 10,000 people versus high-income neighborhoods that have 3 supermarkets for every 10,000 people. Along with the difficulty of finding a supermarket in a food desert, most of the markets have the poorest selection of healthy foods. That is why the poorest cities in the South have some of the highest obesity rates. Using the food desert locating device on the CDC's website, I was able to locate food deserts in close proximity. I have found numerous food deserts right here in Baltimore County. So as you can see, the food desert epidemic is spreading and is most popular amongst black communities. It is a system used to put races in a hierarchy and is otherwise a great example of how racism has been implemented in our society from the 19th century to current day. What is being done about it? There have been numerous programs created in order to bring a much healthier lifestyle to those living in food deserts. Many organizations have worked to create and sustain community gardens, as well as worked to bring farmers markets to the local areas. Local governments have even worked on providing better transportation to those in food deserts in order to have access to established food markets. Of course, each change must start at home, where families must decide to break the cycle that has been forced upon them and start living a healthier lifestyle. Racism and food deserts can both be slowly overcome by the continuation and spread of such programs.